Hello, my name is Jason, and welcome to Character Creation for Untitled. I invite you to follow along as we take a quick journey from just a rough idea or character concept through to a playable character in less than 10 steps. Now before we get started, we will need 4 6-sided dice and optionally 2 10-sided dice. We will also need a pencil, a piece of scrap paper, and a character sheet. Now the first step in better defining our character is to imagine what race they will be. Will they be human? Elf? Velarthi? Each race has its pros and cons, and we invite you to read the bio for each race before you decide. The next step is to better define their characteristics. Are they male? Female? How you choose to have them present that is entirely up to you. But how old are they? What color eyes and hair do they have? Once we have those things out of the way, our next step will be to generate and assign their character attributes. In Untitled, there are 5 core character attributes: strength, agility, intelligence, virtue, and vigor. Character attributes define your character's potential. Both character qualities and skills are a measure of how well your character is currently capable of applying that potential. Every skill in the game is tied to a controlling attribute, with the attribute's score determining that maximum skill level. Now, before we roll your character's initial attributes, this would be a good time to take note of any racial attribute modifiers and of the base number assigned to your character's race. In this case, we are going with a Shaoling, Untitled's poster boy for the often mischievous but misunderstood horn and tail wearing humanoids. They have a movement score of 30, a base of 8, and gain a bonus to vigor of +2. They also have dark vision, an ability that allows them to see better in the dark than other races. With all of that out of the way, let's roll your 4 6-sided dice together. Now what we're going to do is record only the lowest 2. So in this case, 2 + 2 is 4. We'll do this together 5 times. And when we have our set of numbers, we will add each number to the base number for your race and arrive at a set of attribute numbers. Now these attribute numbers can be assigned to any attribute you choose, and every number can be used only once. So go ahead and apply these numbers in whatever order you wish to the attributes column. Now that we have some attributes, let's go ahead and calculate our initial health, stamina, and faith pools. On the character sheet, you'll find that health is a product of strength, vigor, and, as we'll talk a little bit about later, the points you spend in qualities can also be added to this number. So strength plus vigor plus qualities gives you health. For stamina, we're adding AGI or agility to vigor. And for faith, we're adding intelligence to virtue. There are 2 boxes here. The rightmost box is intended to be your maximum number. So this is the number, your base number for each pool. The left is a box that we give you just so you can have a place to put your in-play number. It may be more practical to have a piece of spare paper with you when you're playing, but we leave you a box to go ahead and record that on your character sheet as well. Now, the next step, phobias, is completely optional. However, it's intended to provide some additional character depth and, honestly, a little bit of humor. Be sure to ask your storyteller whether or not they are using phobias in their game, and whether or not they would like you to roll for one of them or two of them. In most cases, if phobias are used at all, we'll go ahead and roll just one of them. In order to do that, we're going to turn to the phobias page within our core rulebook. We're going to take one 6-sided die and two 10-sided die. Go ahead and roll them together and record the results individually. Make sure to keep the D6 separate from the result of the 2D10. The D6 is going to ultimately tell you how severe or how potentially severe your phobia is. The 2D10 will tell you which phobia that your character is going to have. Now the next part is all about spending our initial skill points. When you're creating a character for a particular campaign, your storyteller will most likely have a certain value in mind for initial skill points. Go ahead and ask them. In this example, we're going to assume that we've been given 15 skill points to start. Now, how do we spend these? Skill points can be spent on any skill in the game. There are no classes, there are no levels, only skill levels. So, in this case, we have 15 points to spend. When we're spending our points, how do we spend that? Well, the order is really up to you, but we recommend the following. The first place we're going to stop is the qualities. Now, character qualities, as you may recall from before, these are used in challenges, checks, and saves. So you're going to notice the description here. We talk about brawn, reflex, prudence, steadfast, and fortitude. These are areas linked to these attributes here that you could probably recognize if you're going to do a strength check. You'll be doing a brawn check. If you're doing a fortitude save, you'll be using fortitude. If you're doing a will save, you'll be rolling for steadfast. So these character qualities are very important to your character. Keep that in mind. The next place we're going to stop are the general skills. They specifically affect how your character perceives and interacts with the world around them. So these are also important, particularly things like perception, survival, diplomacy, etc. Okay? Once we've applied some points in the various general skills that we think we'll need to start out with, the next place we're going to go is defensive and offensive skills. Now in Untitled, defensively, think about your character. Will they use a shield, or will they rely on their agility and parry in order to block incoming attacks? In this case, I went ahead with a shield. And Untitled, it's not necessary to describe the type of shield, just what class it is. So in this case, it is a light shield. So shield, light. And going back to the core rulebook, that it has a controlling attribute of agility. I have put one skill point in it, and I will roll 1d4. For armor, the same thing. I don't necessarily need to say it's banded mail or chainmail armor. I can say that it's armor light. It has an AGI or agility controlling attribute, one skill point in it, and I have 1d4 to roll there. For offensive skills, I simply write longsword, because in this case, this character has a longsword. The controlling attribute for a longsword is strength. I have one skill point in it, and in that case, I will roll 2d6 plus 1. For almost every skill that isn't shield or armor, what you're going to roll is tied to the skill progression ladder. So if I only have one skill level in something, I am a novice, and therefore I will roll 2d6 plus the skill level. We have the weapon that my character is going to use, but we also have to decide how that character is going to use that weapon. So they're going to use the weapon, but are they going to use it with another weapon in dual wield fashion? Are they going to use a great sword in two-handed fashion? Or perhaps they're going to use a bow or a crossbow and use archery. So we have combat forms, and in this case, I'm going to be using my sword with a shield, or the sword by itself, so I'm going to be using single. Combat form, single. Again, a controlling attribute of strength, 1 skill level, so I roll 2d6 plus 1. After we've defined our character qualities, our general skills, our defensive and offensive skills, the next part is really deciding whether your character has anything that might be custom to them. For instance, any knowledges, perhaps skills in professions like herbalism or alchemy or locksmithing. And maybe they have other things like linguistics and the ability to speak more than one or more than common. So in this case, you can simply write the name of the skill, the controlling attribute for that skill, and the skill level that you're applying. And again, what you roll here is governed by the skill progression ladder. So 1 will be rolling 2d6 plus 1. And with that, we have a fully playable character in the Untitled system. Your storyteller may assign your character some amount of starting currency, and you should also work with them to document any equipment that may also be appropriate. Thank you for joining us in a walkthrough of character creation for Untitled. My name is Jason, and you can find more about us at untitledrpg.com. Follow us on Twitter at TheUntitledRPG. And if you want to hear more on this platform, please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you.